There's a big inner drive to succeed.
That guy is making some good money. He bought a car, he bought a house.
Me in office? No way, I got this figured out.
We gotta have to shift our mindset. We have to build a good business.
The first problem is that you don't even understand that you have a problem.
We all have issues. The question is, how do you target them? How do you solve those problems?
Delegation, delegation, delegation.
Finally, you can actually say, I'm happy.
Looking back, I mean, that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in our business. My name is Max. The name of our company is UTrust Insurance Agency. We specialize in insuring the transportation sector in the USA, which includes primarily trucking companies and other logistical sectors.
My name is Paul. I'm one of the co-founders as well, UTrust Insurance.
We're based in 2 different states. The state of Washington, where we have our primary office, and then we have another location in South Carolina, and a number of team members that are employed, in multiple offline locations.
So the story behind the company is actually pretty interesting. Neither me or Maxim, we don't have background in business. Before getting involved with business or in general insurance, I was in nursing school. So I was going to college, was trying to get my nursing degree, but somehow my older brother, he got involved with insurance and specifically trucking. And that's when kind of I started noticing, his success. It's a commission-based job that he had as a salesman. And within a short period of time, I was like, man, that guy is making some good money. He bought a car, he bought a house. That's when I started questioning my choices. Like, man, do I really want to be in school for 5 years trying to get my degree and then working for somebody, working for the whole year just to get 2 weeks, vacation? And that's when I joined insurance, roughly 8 months into working for the company.
I came to the States in 2017, and after hopping around a few different opportunities, from washing windows to flipping cars to even shooting some wedding videos, I also knew his older brother from Ukraine, and I accidentally met his boss. And he's like, hey, come for an interview. And I was like, me in office? No way, I got this figured out. And once again, it was a mental barrier that, if I didn't have the right education, if I didn't have the right experience, I can't be out in the office, I can't be doing something with paperwork. But I got the courage to say, I'm gonna risk it, I'm gonna do it. I gave it a shot, I went to the interview, and once again, 8 months later, we got along, our visions aligned, we wanted the same thing, and we wandered off to our path and started a company in 2018. There's a big inner drive to succeed, to become someone, to be successful, and that feeling, that motivation, that burn was, I think, the fuel that kept us running through those first very uncertain times and days. And the uncertainty came, simply from not having absolutely any type of experience, expertise, knowledge, mentorship in running a business, right? From the simplest, accounting procedures, invoicing, reconciliations, which I was lucky enough not to participate a whole lot, and I'm sure my partner here can speak a lot more to that, to building our first procedures, to putting the softwares together, to understanding how customer service needs to run. Absolutely everything was new, and so it was just a little tiny bit of that experience that we've learned from the company we previously worked for, and just personal research. So I wish we had a mentor, a guide back then, and I think things could have been done so much faster and quicker. But at the same time, we learned our lessons good, right? When you make these mistakes, you feel the pain, and I think those are the points of growth, and that motivation combined together gradually started, evolving and growing. But the part that we were good at, of course, was selling. And so we made a lot of calls, we offered our services, and the bigger we grew, I think those actually first early days, I'll just touch on this. in a way we're simple because you start off with an empty email box and you have the freedom to sit around and figure things out. And so as you grow, yes, you're getting more revenue, but then so much more confusion comes around and so much more do these processes become more sophisticated, and we had a hard time.
It's a whole different structure, working with different people, surrounding yourself with different people, with the right people. We noticed it and we were like, man, you know what? We gotta have to shift our mindset. We have to build a good business, reliable, trustworthy, and have a good name, good reputation. And that's when you actually challenge yourself, because for good reputation, good business, you have to pay the price for your values, right? You have to pay the price. And that's when you're like, man, how do I do that? You make some kind of mistake, you either have to pay out of the pocket or you somehow tell the customer that, that's not my fault type of thing, and good luck.
Before we stepped into Business Booster, the condition of the company was at that point close to $1 million in revenue. We had about 10 people or so back then, 10 to 12 people. We started having more issues, something happened here, something happened there. And then these still very ambitious goals to become the best, to grow, right? And so you're starting to have these issues, your growth starts to slow down, and we really felt of the fact that we've ran out of our expertise completely. In order to step into the next level, in order to continue this game, we need additional expertise. We need somebody that's going to be able to coach us, to guide us, and help us to step in this bigger game. Or we slow things down. Well, for us, that was an obvious choice that we want to move forward. And so we're like, okay, well, there's thousands of millions of people that have built businesses and become successful and started from zero. Well, let's go find some company that's going to help us understand these things and help us continue on our journey and be successful. And that's where we came across Business Booster, and things started to change around real quick.
And at that time, from day one, when we opened the company, we haven't had bad years. Every single year we would grow 100, 120, 150%. So with our speed, and scaling, growing, our problems also start adding up. Human error, mistakes, and in trucking insurance for human errors we pay tens of thousands of dollars. And that's when you somehow got involved with Natalia, right?
Yes.
One of our clients, in fact, recommended.
There was an issue. Something happened, some miscommunication. We didn't process a request that our customer sent out correctly, and we had a big customer at the time, and he was not happy. But we had a relatively good relationship with him, and so he's like, listen, man, just, on a personal level, my advice from me as a businessman to you need somebody to get into your business and help you out. Like, you guys are doing good, but you're making clear mistakes and errors. And he's like, I know this firm, I know this lady, call her, talk with her. I haven't worked with her, but I've heard good things.
Like, dude, this is gonna solve our problem. We found a company. Those guys are amazing. They know how to structure. They take business from point A to point B. And I remember I was driving. It was snowing, extremely bad traffic in the city, and I had like hours on the phone with him, and we were kind of going through all this mess that we have in the company, and he was so excited, like, yes, that's the right people. They know what they do. And that's when we got in touch with Natalia, and so far, it's been since 2023 together, and not only working with Business Booster, but the community. That's what, from your side, Business Booster, you guys have a very strong community that is open to share the actual problems in the company. Nobody is, here talking how cool their business is, because we all know from founder perspective, we all have problems, we all have issues. The question is, how do you target them? How do you solve those problems? And that's probably number one thing that keeps us together, being part of the community, because you can talk to other business owners. So our revenue, when we joined Business Booster, we hit 1 million in revenue. The question was that we had, like, hey, we have 1 million. I really wanted to see the number in our tax return, 1 million. That was sort of milestone. But the question,
good.
yeah, that was good. It's like finally we hit the goal.
Yeah.
The question was like, hey, we have 1 million, but where's the money? Why is it not 1 million in the account? But it's a revenue, all these expenses, procedures, hiring people. It was all part of the challenge that we had. And when we realized we are not scalable, we can't stop our business because we want to grow. In fact, we're adding more customers, our revenue is growing, but the amount of problems we have, the amount of issues, uncertainty, like what's the next step, was kind of overwhelming. And I think the final drop was like, man, like I was on a vacation with my family on the beach. I'm sitting with laptop. The laptop is like overheating in the sand, and as you kind of have this disappointment. Like, I have a business. I try to spend quality time with my family, but I'm on the beach trying to enjoy, but I have to work. All this putting all those fires out, and that's when we joined Business Booster. The problem we had that even with those 10 people, tasks would overlap, or we would have some gaps in tasks. Like, one person is doing one thing, but the other person thinks that it's been done, it was not delegated properly. There's no written procedure, there's no SOPs, there's no org structure, and it was so overwhelming. And when we started working with Business Booster, that's when we actually understood that, hey, there's a structure. You can't scale it. We have to put every single person, employee, procedure, everything on a paper, and build the right job descriptions, work processes, workflows, metrics, SOPs. One thing for me was actually hard is to stop giving tasks to people by just, coming to the office, to different cubicles and be like, hey, send this email, please call this person. Like Alex would always say, everything should be in the email, through email. All the given tasks should be through email. And it took some time to understand that, hey, there's a right procedure. As of today, we have over 40 people. Maybe someone was hired or fired morning. I don't even know. We have HR already. Huge step that we also did, just hiring the right HR. So over 40 people, and I can say that our revenue grew, from the time when we started, 3, 4, 5 times, throughout the years. When we started 2023, right? So 3 years ago.
If I look back and think about how much time I've put in before joining the program and starting, working with Business Booster, and after, I probably, for me personally, I wouldn't compare as much the time as rather the stress and the feeling of overwhelmment. I always felt like I knew the red line that I should not cross to not hurt my family, my personal relationship. And I always wanted to be a great dad, at home. And so there was obviously more of those days back then where I have to stay later in the office, where I have to be there until 8 or 9 or even 10 p.m., or where I have to work a Saturday or Sunday. I tried to keep those days at minimum back then. But back then, the biggest problem was stress, was just the feeling of, I hope we don't screw up today, of the fact that, I hope this was the right decision, and obviously as you grow, things just escalate, right? More stress, more responsibilities. And so if I fast forward time to when we, completed the program, or in the later stages of, in the program where we've integrated, some of these essential tools within our system, gradually the levels of stress have been, becoming very conservative. They still exist, but on a very acceptable level. And that's because we've learned how to delegate, right? That's because we're much more confident in our, team than we were ever before. And we've passed down certain responsibilities. We've hired the right people. We've set the right procedures. So I don't work anymore like weekends ever. Hallelujah. I try to keep my days under 8 working hours. And that's probably 98% of my schedule is Monday to Friday, like a 4 to 5. I don't work weekends. I spend good enough time with my family, and most importantly, the levels of stress are controlled, and there's just so much consistency in the way and how you feel about business. So a big transformation, as you can tell. That it's a very big transformation.
And the most important is you're always trying to do something that you've never done before. So you always hear this risk, like, is this the right step? Is this the right thing to do right now? Maybe it's the right thing to do, a year later, but what do we do now? And that's when Business Booster really helps you kind of walk through certain things through the business, in the business. And at some point we would even argue with Natasha and be like, hey, like, no, like, I don't feel it. I don't feel that's the right move. I don't feel like I have to fire this person. Like, nope, you gotta hire the new person. After implementing org structure, SOPs, job description, it brought clarity to every single team member. This is your responsibility, and that's the result I'm expecting, and that's how you should do it, especially with SOPs. If you'd asked me 3 years ago what is SOP, I don't know, but right now you understand how important that is in a business. Standard operating procedures, where you're saving time on training your team. You're detailing every single step that they should perform to deliver the same result over and over with a high quality, and eliminating human error. Because very simple, we work with truckers. Let's say one of my client calls me and he's like, hey, I want to insure truck, it's $200,000 value. And we said, okay, we're gonna insure for $200,000, which means if, God forbid, any accident happens, they would get compensated $200,000. But you put in those $200,000 and you forgot to add 1 0, and it's $20,000 now. And that happened before to us. And if that would be me or Maxim, we would understand that the truck is not worth 2020 or 2025. If it's a brand new truck, it's not worth $20,000. But whoever's doing it, they just don't understand the value and the 20,000 whatever. And then you have to be kidding, that truck had to get an accident. Client is frustrated, they got paid 20,000, they have loan and other stuff, and we have to write a check 180,000 to the insured because that's our mistake. And those cases, they really teach you, like, hey, SOPs, job descriptions, verifying every single step. Probably the best decision we had is building our own CRM system where every step is explained. The SOP and the system works together, where even in our CRM, we have tip to, successful action, how to perform this or the task.
What was my personal bottleneck, but at the same time, of course, it was a company's bottleneck. And that goes back to sales. So, as my partner mentioned here, we've divided certain responsibilities between each other. And I was stuck with sales and marketing. And Paul, you were more on the accounting, the numbers, and some of the operational things. And so as I've continued on in this role in our company, obviously the sales would grow more. And we at some point also found out that we are pretty successful in working with larger customers. And the workload just grew so much that I had to spend, I would say, at least 80% of my time working with customers, directly with customers, finding them the right policies, consulting. At the same time, had to go out and run for new big customers, right? Because as expenses grew, the revenue had to keep up. And so I found myself in a place where all my time was devoted to selling, which is at some point good, but I have to not only do direct sales, but I have to focus on developing the sales department in such a way that it is scalable, that the procedures are bulletproof for error, right? That they are effective to train new people on. And so obviously no expertise there. So I had to, transfer a lot of energy into that, and I just couldn't do it. Business Booster, they helped realize this, because the first problem is that you don't even understand that you have a problem, right? You're continue on celebrating every sale. You brought in a new big customer. We just made a lot of money. Oh gosh, that feels so good, right? That's a big accomplishment, and we would celebrate. As we've learned essential business tools with the mentorship of our coach, she really started to point out the fact that we need to delegate. It's a mind shift that needs to happen. And so our coach would come back constantly and she would talk about delegation, that you have to make certain moves. They're going to hurt a little bit, but they're going to bring you so much more success in the long run. And we had this amazing guy on our team. He was in sales. He was a rock star. And an idea started to grow on us that these big sales responsibilities need to move from me to him. And I need to start focusing more on being a true leader, a true founder, rather just as a salesman. And at some point we made that decision after months of mentorship from Business Booster, after thinking, after constantly going through this workload. We finally came to a point where it was clear. It was finally clear and evident that this decision needs to make in order for us to continue on our growth. And we did it. And it hurt a little bit, but looking back, that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in our business. I'm extremely beyond happy of what we did back there. But it took a lot of effort, a lot of conversations, a lot of mentorship, and a mind shift to come to that point. It isn't something that you can just wake up and do like that, especially when it involves, a lot of financial.
That's when the stress problems coming up, team is getting overwhelmed. The worst thing when you get a phone call with your top performer and they say, hey, I'm burning out. I can't do this no more. I either need to take vacation or I need some kind of help. And money can't fix that problem. It's not that conversation when you're like, I'll give you a raise. It's not working out. But when we're scaling, quick speed, growing, our team, and I would always emphasize and say, hey guys, you have to grow with us. You have to focus, you have to work on your mindset, you have to learn new things because you will be left behind. Once you're left behind, we don't have time to bring you back. All we have to do is replace and have someone who can take from here, and help you scale. We can learn a lot about business, even with Business Booster. You guys have a lot of valuable information. That information doesn't solve any problems. It's all how you implement this. And before that, we would think, HR, who's HR? Why do I need HR? What are you guys talking about? What kind of culture do I need? Like, I need salesmen to bring revenue so I can pay my accounting type of thing. Well, what kind of culture are we talking about? When we would hire and people would say, it has to fit your culture. Like, it has to fit what? Like, I want him to do my job, what I'm asking to do. Now it's like, yes, it has to fit the culture. It had to be the right person for the right team, being able to work in the team, delivering the result. Family is number one. When we look at a business, we look through family. Because I spoke to a lot of business owners. They build multi-millionaire or billionaire, businesses, but on the way to achieve their goal, they lost their wives, they lost their kids, they went through divorce, and in the end of the day, when you answer, to be honest, yourself, and you answer the question, are you truly happy? Was this all worth it? And the answer is quite often like, no, I was going to achieve this goal, but I paid very, very high price.
Job descriptions were a game changer. I think metrics and KPI was something that was a big eye-opener for me, and it's something that I underestimated. Because if delegation in job description is a lot of that is just also common sense that those things just need to be in place. But metrics and KPI was a far in the distance kind of tool that was hard to understand back then, and it seemed like it's something that is used by larger companies, by larger corporations. It seemed like that is not something that is very important and essential to us at the time. Sometimes metrics, KPIs, data, it all just sounds a little too sophisticated, too complicated, but it isn't. As soon as you dive in and you learn, you really start to understand, feel a lot more comfortable, and you could get to using this data a lot faster than you would think to.
One thing that I see, org chart, like we can talk about the org chart,
How could I miss that one?
all
I'm
that.
not
I was
sure.
waiting for you to say that, but you missed. Org chart is very, very important. It's just vital. You can't have anything without org chart. Sure, if you have 10 people, and you're all in the one office, possibly that can work to some degree. But when you actually have multiple offices, like in our case we have multiple offices, we have some people working remotely, and that's the question that we always had, like, hey, how to bring the clarity, to make sure that every team member understands not only their responsibility, but who's the next in this chain of communication, who's the next in the process. If you've sold the customer, who process all the documents. Once it's processed, we have to pass it over to the customer service. Once in the customer service comes back for the renewal, it has to come back to the sales department, and all this life cycle of a customer. We had to pay attention to the org chart. When we can have job description, accounting, customer service, PR, marketing, they all can have job description, but when they need to ask some kind of question from any team member, they need to understand who's this guy, where's he working, what is his number, who he reports to. And that's probably one of the biggest and the most important step in a company if you really want to scale, if you want to grow, to have org chart, not somewhere hidden. It has to be implemented. It has to be the org chart that works for your company. I built one for the future, something that we can't implement right now, but potentially later. Does that work? Probably not. You have to sort of be realistic. Like, this is the org chart that we have right now, and team members, placed properly. But to have the right coaches is important. And with Business Booster, we really appreciate you guys have amazing team. Our coach, amazing. She's awesome. I think the expertise that she has, the advice or recommendations that we receive, it's not something new. It's something that other businesses already implemented it. So it's sort of, advices that we receive, we carry less risk because we know whether it worked or did not work for other companies.
And that played a big role in executing and implementing, right? Because as Paul mentioned, you can carry as much theory as you can, and you can read a whole lot of books on how to become the wealthiest and the most successful, but it comes down to execution. And sometimes you need to be brave. You need to take risk. You need to accept risk. And our coach was like a third additional person to this little close circle that was in the game. And so getting her perspectives, getting her support, as she viewed this from the side, really helped us, I think, progress on a lot of things.
As the founders, we decide what we want to do, right? Like, we want to hire, we want to fire, we want to build. It's all upon your decision and execution. And quite often, you're sitting, you're doing something, and you get a notification 15 minutes before Zoom meeting. Irina, like, oh snap, I was supposed to fire this person, or I was supposed to have this meeting. What do you do? Like, Max, like, should we reschedule it? Like, and like, it brings the accountability, because in the end of the day, why would you have a coach? Why would you work with consulting, firm people if you don't execute, if you don't act on it? There's just pointless. You rather maybe spend those money on something else, right? But the accountability, it works. It actually works. Going back before we start with Business Booster and now, everything has changed. Everything has changed. The most important, I would say, is we got more educated. We became more smarter, how to act, how to execute certain things. Going back when you're in the middle of tornado, that's normal. I think that's part of the process to be in the middle of tornado, when you're building everything at once. It's not normal when you don't know what to do, when you're like burning out, when team members are burning out, and you need someone. You need to do something, but you need to know what to do. That's when you need those advisors. I believe that business cannot be successful without advisors. Like, you need to have the right people by your side. It can be bad advisor, it can be good advisor, but you have to have. Also, one of the most important problems, we hired personal assistant, and Irina did a great job with explaining who is a personal assistant. But back then, I couldn't even process and think that can be done. Why have we done this way? Well, because she's freeing our time. we have, extra hours in our day that we can reinvest back to the business and have different result. So this whole journey working with the business booster is just amazing, because going back 3 years ago, we couldn't even predict and think how this can impact in a good way. And now, instead of thinking about how do I sell, how do I bring more this, how to do this, how to explain or cover some of the work processes, we have managers that fully taking care of this. And we actually spend time on strategy, scaling strategy. When back then we would not even think about any strategy. What kind of strategy? Like, what are you talking about? What kind of business plan? I'm just working, I'm doing what I need to do. We went through the tornado. That's my favorite word, because you literally feel like you're in the middle of tornado. And as of right now, everything is under control, no more fires. And we went through the process. And finally, you can actually say, I'm happy. I'm not going on a vacation with my laptop, and I'm not sitting on the beach, trying to put the fires out. In fact, for the whole day, I had 5 missed phone calls, and that was my wife. Nothing from the business, which kind of gives me the feeling that, yes, this is accomplished.
From uncertainty, from no clarity, from a tornado and a hurricane, from day to day, to a peace of mind, to confidence that your team got your back, and most importantly, a roadmap for the future. And not a roadmap for the future of thinking maybe we'll be there, but rather a step-by-step logical plan that explains when and how you are going to get there. And I think that's just priceless. So thank you to Business Booster.
What I can say, I can control my day. I can control my calendar. I can control my week. I can focus on things that I need to do, whether it's family, church, business, all that is under control.
Well, first of all, for us, it's no longer a vision. It's a reality that we're confidently moving towards, right? When now we have essential tools to control and grow our business. Second, we want to be a recognizable national brand. We specialize in a pretty complicated section of insurance, and it would be easier for us to move later on to other sectors of insurance from this very difficult one. That is a part of the objective to diversify, but ultimately we want to be at $1 billion in sales within the next decade, and we'll try to get there as soon as possible. But that once again comes along with a lot of scaling, a lot of employment, and possibly buying and merging other companies.
This year, in comparison to last year, 2025 to comparison to 24, we grew 70%, which was the lowest growth for the past years. But that also explains, because the bigger you are, the more challenging it's to 1x or 2x. But the fact that we are growing not 10, not 5%, but even 70%, that shows that what we did, it works. It was done the right way.
But the ultimate goal, this year is to grow to $100 million in sales within the next following 2 years. I think we're gonna really try to add at least another 70 to 80 every year following from there. So these are very ambitious goals. It's going to require a lot of energy, a lot of focus. But once again, we have the clarity, the confidence, and the faith in ourselves and in our team that that's what we're going to do. So only forward, only stronger every day.
And if I focus on business right now and fully dedicate my life to business, I'm probably gonna miss the most important part of my life. And I'm not willing to do that. So I'm not solving for, spending 80 hours a week on business. It's not about you who build a business, it's about your team. You will always lose as a solo guy, you will always lose to the team. It's been proven, that's true, that's fact. So why waste your time? Just do it. At the end of the day, it's your mindset. What do you want to accomplish? What you think of, this is who you are. That's why quite often when we go through Business Booster, it's not about us making some kind of changes in our business. It's about our shift of mindset. Like, you think the other way. If you improve yourself, you grow, and only after you grow, you can actually see your business from different perspective, and that helps you to make the right decision, to implement the right tools, because you can see that, wow, if I'm gonna do this right now, my business is gonna skyrocket, my business is gonna grow.
Setting the right priorities is crucial. If you're in a mess, in an uncertainty, if you're going through a lot of pain that your business delivers to you, but you want to continue on, you want it to become better, you want to grow, there's somebody that has already done this 1,000 times. You're already paying the ultimate price. You're already paying the price with your time, with your health possibly, with your finances. So I would say pay a little more right now, sacrifice a little more time, a little bit more finances, but work with an expert that's gonna guide you and help you create the roadmap that you've always dreamed of. Setting priorities really, I think, is where it really begins, and understanding that you're not alone. There's a lot of us out here that are going through it, have gone through it, and there's people that can help and know exactly what you need.
And that's something that we really believe in. They trust transparency and have this personal approach. And that's what the UTrust insurance cares, and that's the name that we have. That's the true values and the DNA that we have, the trust, transparency towards our clients, our partners, and even in our company. It's all about the trust. It's all about the trust. So here's, UTrust.